Miss Seethe's detention rampage. Some teachers are permanently annoyed. Others are always cross. There are even some who spend their whole day fuming. However, Miss Seethe was never not furious. There was a very good reason for this, and for once it wasn't the fault of the children. At Ryle High School, Miss Seethe had been the deputy head for as long as anyone could remember. For years and years she'd been living in the shadow of someone who had the top job, someone who never retired, someone who'd been headmistress for nearly 50 years, 5 decades, half a century. It was unheard of to be in this job for so long. At some schools, a head might only last 5 minutes. As our tale begins, the 99-year-old Miss Stint was just days away from celebrating her golden anniversary as headmistress of Ryle High. This made Seethe seethe. As deputy head, she was just under Stint. Any deputy head dreams of one day becoming the head teacher. But not for nearly 50 years. That is how long Miss Seethe has been waiting to seize the crown. Waiting and waiting and waiting, then waiting some more. Every day she cursed the ground Miss Stint rolled on. One day she would incant to herself as she looked around the school, one day this will be mine. Mine, mine, mine. The fury was written all over her face. Over time, her eyes had narrowed to become 2 inky black dots. Her mouth had curled into a permanent grimace. Her ears had begun to glow as red as the fires of hell. Her forehead had become as lined as an exercise book, and her nostrils had flared so much you could stuff a sausage roll up each one. Miss Seethe's face was permanently frozen in fury. She woke up in the morning like that, and she went to bed at night like that. Even when she was experiencing something pleasurable, like sucking one of her favourite boiled sweets, humbugs of course, she looked as if she was sucking a wasp. Miss Seethe had been waiting for so long that she'd grown very, very old. Not as old as Miss Stint. No one was as old as Miss Stint. The deputy head was 88 and walked with a stick. The advantage of this was that it doubled up as a weapon. It was perfect for prodding and poking children. When she was particularly enraged, she would swing the stick over her head like a propeller. Most days Miss Seethe stalked the corridors of Ryle High, looking for anybody on whom she could vent her fury. Her favourite thing in the world was to give out detention. Absolutely anything you did could get you into trouble with her. Miss Seethe was known to dish out detentions for the most spurious of reasons. Sneezing in class. That sneeze was so loud it could have made me deaf. Child, detention, she would yell as she whacked her stick down on the cowering child's desk. Having a spot on the end of your nose, that spot is an eyesore. You have ruined the appearance of the entire school. Detention, she'd spit, prodding the child's nose with her stick. Humming while sitting in the toilet, Seethe would strike the cubicle door with her stick before shouting, detention. Having your birthday on a school day. Happy birthday, child. Oh, thank you so much, Miss Seethe. Not at all. And I have a present for you. Wow, thank you. A present for you is detention. I should have known. Double detention. Wearing a squeaky trainer on sports day. That one squeaky shoe is confiscated. But miss, I will have to run the race wearing only one shoe. Perfect. You can limp all the way to your detention. Having an egg sandwich in your lunchbox. You have stunk out the entire school, the entire town, the entire country, the entire continent, the entire planet, the entire solar system, the entire universe. I am not sure They can spell. I'm not sure they can smell my egg sandwich on Mars, miss. Detention. Walking too fast in the corridor. Slow down, you reckless blunderer, she would say, as she blocked their path with her stick, slamming it down in front of them. But miss, please, I'll be late for my exam. You will miss that, as you will be in detention. Walking too slowly in the corridor. Speed up, you slovenly clot. She would poke them in the back with her stick. Ouch! But miss, I've broken my leg. A pathetic excuse. Detention. Carrying an offensive banana. That banana could easily have an eye out. Detention. Even having what Miss Seethe considered to be a stupid name. Yes, Mark does count as a stupid name. I have never heard of one stupider. But miss, I can't help it. That's the name my mum and dad gave me. Double detention. Miss, triple detention. I won't say another thing. Quadruple detention. That's not right. Quintuple detention. That's not fair. Quintuple detention. I think it's quintuple, miss. Quintuple detention. And for correcting me, you have sextuple detention. Offenders would all have to stay after school in Miss Seethe's classroom for an hour or 2 or 3 or sometimes even until dawn. It depended on whether you got her on a bad day or a very, very, very bad day. As punishment, Seethe would set lines which the wrongdoers would have to write out hundreds or thousands of times. However, on one particular afternoon, Miss Seethe was not able to give one measly detention. That is because the grand tea party was to be held in the hall. Every single pupil was invited. All 1,000 of them. Of course, all the teachers, dinner ladies, and caretakers were there too. The party was in honour of Miss Stint and her 50 glorious years as head teacher of Ryle High. Unlike Miss Seethe, who was hated, Miss Stint was loved by everyone. She was like everybody's favourite grandmother or great-grandmother or great-great-grandmother. Miss Stint was a lovely old dear, and the whole school wanted the party to be really special. Everyone had brought in something. There were cakes and jellies and pies and sandwiches galore. As you might expect for a tea party, there were cups of tea galore too. The only problem was there was no Miss Stint. The headmistress was late for her own party, extremely late. Miss Stint had all the urgency of a tortoise. The 99-year-old was woken up in her office. She generally slept for most of the day. By her most trusted ally, the school secretary, Miss Epoch, was a mere slip of a girl at the age of 98. The elderly secretary trundled Miss Boss down the long corridor in her wheelchair, stopping off at the toilet 17 times on the way. When Miss Stint was finally entered the hall, it was getting late, and the old dear had nodded off again. However, as soon as she rolled into the room, she was met with a loud cheer, a loud chorus of hooray! She woke up again. Miss Epoch then steered the headmistress onto the stage for her to make her golden jubilee speech. I name this ship, she began Miss Stint in her sing-song voice. No, no, hissed the secretary. I do declare the library open. No, no, I think they've all come to celebrate my bronze. No, silver. No, golden. Yes, my golden jubilee as headmistress of the school. Teachers, pupils, dinner ladies, caretakers, gardeners, and everyone else present who I have not the faintest idea of who you all are. Welcome." Everyone cheered. Everyone except Miss Seethe, of course. The deputy head was loitering behind a trifle and slowly turning purple with rage. "Believe it or not," continued Miss Dint, "I am now 99 years old, nearly halfway through my life." "Halfway?" barked Seethe. "And I have been reflecting upon things as you might at such a remarkable landmark moment." "Oh, get on with it," snarled the deputy head, stamping her walking stick on the floor. "Should I continue as headmistress of Riley High?" Miss Seethe's ears pricked up. "Or is it time for me to move on to pastures new?" "Well, I feel today is the perfect day to make the announcement." The deputy head began to do something she hadn't done in a very, very, very long time. Smile. Her furious face became, well, happy. This was the moment for which Miss Seethe was waiting the best part of half a century. The headmistress was about to announce her retirement, and, as deputy head, the crown would be passed to her. Finally, she would be the top dog at Riley High. But before Miss Dint could make the announcement, the old dear nodded off mid-sentence. Her secretary, or rather her nurse, Miss Epoch, stepped in. She shook Miss Dint up, as she always did, She woke Miss Dint up, as she always did, by gently slapping her boss around the face. Miss Dint woke up with a start. "Oh, thank you so much, Miss Epoch. I don't know what I'd do without you." "My great pleasure, headmistress," replied the secretary. "Now, where was I?" "The announcement," bellowed Miss Seethe. "Oh, yes, thank you, Miss Seethe, my trusted deputy and closest friend." Seethe nodded her head, but said nothing. All she'd ever felt towards Miss Dint was a deep, dark resentment. Today is the perfect day to make the announcement that I've decided to stay on as headmistress of Riley High for another 50 years. Hooray! Everybody cheered. Miss Dent was much loved, but there was a hint of uncertainty in the cheer. 50 years? Was she really going to live until 149 and still be working? Miss Seethe looked as if she was about to explode. "No, no," she screamed. "Did you have anything to add, Miss Seethe?" inquired Miss Dint. "Detention." The whole school laughed uproariously. "Ho, ho, ho," chortled Miss Dint. "I am the headmistress, Miss Seethe. You can't put me in detention." "Insolence," shouted the deputy head. She was having none of it. Double detention. Triple detention. The school secretary spoke up for her boss. "Miss Seethe, please. Have you lost your marbles?" "Yes, I have, many years ago," shouted Miss Seethe, waving her walking stick over her head faster and faster. That wasn't the answer Miss Epoch was expecting, but she pressed on anyway. "Even so, this is Miss Dint's big day. 50 glorious years. How dare you ruin it?" Miss Seethe was a lady not for turning. "Detention," she boomed again. "I beg your pardon," replied the secretary. She couldn't believe her ears. Now she was receiving a detention too. Double detention, but triple detention, but quadruple detention, but quintuple detention, sextuple detention, but septuple detention. How many is that? 7. Octuple. That's 8. Yes, not nontuple. 9. I bet you don't know what 10 is. Dectuple. "Knickers," explained the secretary. "Miss Seethe, you have gone crazy in the coconut. You can't just give detention to everyone." Oh, yes, I can. Oh, no, you can't. Oh, yes, I can. Oh, no, you can't. Oh, yes, I can. This pantomime routine went on for a few hours before Seethe snapped. Everyone in this room, you are all in detention. This was a detention rampage. Everyone in the school hall, and it was well over 1,000 people, began complaining loudly, not least all the other teachers. That was Miss Epoch again. "Merry Christmas, everyone," announced Miss Stint over the din. "It's January, Headmistress," corrected the secretary. "Is it really?" "Yes. Well, it's nice to get in early." Before everyone could utter another word, Miss Seethe shouted, "Silence!" louder than a teacher had ever shouted silence before. Now she had everybody's attention. Seethe started spinning her walking stick above her head, faster and faster and faster, and shooing everyone out of the hall. In no time she had forced the every single pupil and staff member down the corridor, up the stairs, and into her classroom at the top of the school building. The problem was the classroom was meant for 30, not 1,030. It was like standing in the packed train carriage at rush hour. Armpits were in the faces, knees were knocking against each other, and toes were treading on toes. All the children found this the most amusing. Not one. You can't all stay behind. You can all stay behind until the end of time," shouted Seethe from the doorway. "You sad little woman," mocked Miss Epoch, speaking up for the entire school. "This is all because you didn't get the top job. Now you will never be headmistress and never get your moment of glory." "Yes," agreed everybody else. Miss Seethe's narrow eyes narrowed even further. Her nose wrinkled and her lips quivered. "You are quite wrong," announced the deputy. "This is my moment of glory, for this is the day when I give the entire school a detention." "Not the entire school," observed Miss Stint with a smile. "What? I think you are forgetting someone." "Who?" demanded Seethe. "You." Silence descended over the overcrowded classroom. All eyes turned on the deputy head, who was standing at the door, wrestling with her thoughts. After a few moments, she spoke. "Miss Seethe," announced Miss Seethe. "Yes, Miss Seethe," replied Miss Seethe. "I hereby give you a detention." "Me?" "Yes, you." "But I am the deputy head of the school. You can't give me a detention." "Oh, yes, I can, for I am the deputy head of the school. Now get in there. Shoo, shoo, shoo." With that, Miss Seethe held up her stick and prodded and poked herself into the classroom. Now there was even less room in there than before, and the people started to grumble. "Can't you wait until the next train?" Miss Seethe closed the classroom door behind her. "Right now, everyone settle down," she called out. You try to settle down in here?" called back Miss Stint. "There are 30 bottoms for every chair." "Some of these bottoms are too large for just one." "Right," announced Miss Seethe, determined to gain control of the classroom. She clambered up Miss Stint as if the elderly headmistress were the ladder. "Would you mind awfully removing your foot from my head?" asked the headmistress. Holding on to her stick tightly, Miss Seethe then crowd surfed her way over the top of everyone's heads. "I am setting us all lines," she announced, as the wave of hands passed her around the room like a beach ball. "I must not complain about being given a detention, or I will be given another detention. No one could write a thing. There wasn't room to move your elbow. We can't. It's impossible. Are you bananas?" Undeterred, Miss Seethe crowd-surfed her way over to the cabinet in the corner to fetch some paper. She stood on top of it and addressed the entire school. I want you all, I want us all to write out 1,000,000 times, she barked. I am not doing it, Seethe replied to herself. 1,000,000,000 times then, she snapped back, rotating her walking stick over her head. I said no, 1,000,000,000,000, no, 1,000,000,000,000, never a gazillion, no, no, no. As she argued with herself, her walking stick revolved faster and faster and faster and faster, until Seethe was now spinning her stick above her head at such a speed that she actually took off like a helicopter. Her feet left the cabinet and she sent herself crashing through the roof of her classroom. The teacher hurtled through the sky. Everyone looked up through the sea-sized hole in the ceiling to see her whizzing through the clouds, still rotating her stick above her head. "Detention!" bellowed Miss Seethe at a pigeon that flew past her. Her voice echoed across the sky until it was heard no more. "Well, that feels better," sighed Miss Epoch. "Oh, yes," murmured everyone else in agreement. "Now let's party," announced Miss Stint. "Yes," cried the entire school. They all trundled out of the classroom and followed the headmistress down the corridor, back into the hall where all the yummy cakes and jellies and pies were still waiting for them. Miss Stint was the last to leave the party, way past midnight. The events of the day had perked her up no end. There was a karaoke, and she treated the school to a performance of her favourite hip-hop track, MC Stint on the mic. Riley, hi. Let's hear it. Let me hear it. Way-oh, way-oh. As for Miss Seethe, no one knew where she landed, if indeed she ever did. So if you find an angry old lady lying in a ditch, waggling a walking stick above her head and barking "Detention" at you, approach with extreme caution. Whatever you do, don't stick a stamp on Miss Seethe's forehead and post her to Rile High. They do not want their deputy back ever.